Split jerks are easily the most misunderstood and underperformed movement of the 3 exercises in weightlifting. If you count the clean and the jerk as separate movements, the jerk is one of the movements that lifters struggle with the most. When I first started weightlifting, due to lack of knowledge and experience in the sport, I thought that the jerk was derived mostly from your upper body strength and not from your legs. And this is something that led to lots and lots of little bad habits along the way and led me to inconsistent technique, which made progressing this exercise really challenging. So before we can get to jerking 170, we have to go back to what actually helped me achieve a really solid split jerk. These points that I talk about might be applicable to you. This is just my own personal experience with improving my jerks. Some of these things I use regularly when I coach clients or when I coach my own lifters, and they, like I said, they might be applicable to you or they might not be. The first thing that helped me with my split jerks was keeping an open grip. So what this means is instead of death gripping the bar and holding it very tightly, I would just let the bar sit in the middle of my hand and have my hands and my fingertips open. So I'm not grabbing onto the bar too tight, but I'm also not just letting it, sit into my fingertips. My hands are still there to support the bar in the middle of my hand, but my grip is relaxed around the bar and my fingers are almost open on the bar. And I felt that this stopped me from pressing early, which as soon as I got into the dip and I went to drive the bar up, I would already begin to press and start to punch instead of simply letting my legs take over and then press a little bit later and delaying that press to help me with my timing for the jerk. So that was one of the things that made a massive difference, and whenever I find I'm getting too fired up or I tense up too much, simply relaxing my grip and allowing the weight to sink into my body. The second thing was a series of useful cues, but the main thing that stood out for me was exaggerating the drive in the jerk. So I would just be focusing so much on driving hard out of the bottom of the jerk, so doing things where I would, in my warm-ups, control the dip really slowly and then exaggerate how hard I would drive back up. And this kind of just made me aware of exactly what I was doing, and that was just dipping and splitting too early and not driving and not finishing that drive and extension off in the jerk, which was making the whole lift go out of timing and out of sequence, and obviously stopping the bar from moving up and actually lifting off my shoulders. So then as a result, like I spoke about in point 1, when I was using my arms and pressing early, it was just making the whole situation worse. The next thing that really helped me was some accessory movements for my jerk. So I tried pause jerks and I tried power jerks and all those kind of movements, and that helped me be more explosive in my drive, but it still didn't really translate that well to my jerk. So one of the things that we worked on was doing a jerk recovery. So this is where you have the barbell loaded overhead and you're in your split position and you're simply unracking the weight. So the weight will be either on a pin or on a spotter arm quite high above you. For me, I'm quite tall, so it had to be quite high. And then you simply load your lats and load your back up so the bar's sitting behind your head in your jerk receiving position, and then from there you will recover and stand tall. Now, I found this exercise so challenging. I don't think I could even do like 70 or 100 kilos in the first week, even though I was jerking around 150 inconsistently. I still found this exercise so challenging. So what it was teaching me was that I was actually holding the weight a lot in my shoulders and in front of the body. So I wasn't getting it back behind me, so I could receive it on my lats and receive it behind me. So the bar was sitting a little bit in front, and it took me a while to understand how to actually stack this bar straight over my body. And it also taught me a lot about how to balance my front foot and back foot and take some load in the back leg. The final thing that was really effective for my jerks was just splitting them up. Just working on the jerk and clean separately. So splitting them up and just working on the jerk off the blocks and pushing that weight until I felt like my technique was start to break down, and working around whatever weight or whatever RPE I had prescribed for that day. So that was something that was really effective and allowed me to kind of just work on that lift without too much fatigue from the clean. So I wasn't going to get burnt out or fatigued from the clean, and it wasn't going to affect my performance in the jerk. So if you're someone who's struggling with either the clean or the jerk, split those two lifts up and you'll find that you'll be able to practice them a lot more consistently. If you're someone who's struggling with your technique, whether it be on light weights or when you go for a heavy set, then just subtle changes might make a huge difference, or just focusing on a specific cue someone might have said might make all the difference. So I encourage you to try lots of different cues and find what works for you. This was just my own experience and what's worked for me. If you're interested in other weightlifting tutorials or other weightlifting content, I have a bunch more on the channel, and I'll link those here right now, so they might be on screen. But as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.